We are now under the spotlight with showbiz entrepreneur and entertainer since the 1960s, Jayson Jay King. Tonight we have the privilege of featuring the true legend in the world of entertainment. A showbiz entrepreneur and entertainer since the 1960s, Jayson has not only witnessed the evolution of South African music and entertainment industry, but has also played a pivotal role in shaping it. Now, with a career spanning over 6 decades, Jayson has left an indelible mark through his unforgettable performances, his ability to reinvent himself, and his deep commitment to keeping the magic of music alive. Whether as a performer, producer, or mentor, his influence resonates across generations. We're thrilled to delve into his extraordinary journey, learn from his vast experience, and explore the secrets behind his longevity in an ever-changing industry. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Under the Spotlight.
Alaikum salam, Mubashir, and all the listeners out there of 786. And a very good evening to all of you listening to this program. It will be a great pleasure talking to you. And question if you want to, if it's allowed in this program. But I'm here to talk about whatever you need to hear.
Yeah, you can be part of the show on 0786 10 11 12, or alternatively you can call Auntie Yasmin at the reception at 021 699 1786. Remember, we do love hearing from you. It is 100.4 Radio 786, 100.4 FM. Now, Mr. Jayson, your career in entertainment spans over 60 years. Can you take us back to where it all began and share some of your earliest memories in showbiz?
Absolutely. I started in 1960. I come from a very strong Indian background. I'd wear different hats from time to time. My stage name is Jayson Jay King, and I worked as a promoter and a boxing trainer for a long, long time when I was still at primary school, which sounds like a joke today, but that's where I started my show business career. A little while later, in 1961, I ran a variety show at the Kismet Bioscope in Athlone, which was our Palladium, London Palladium. And I did the show in aid of the Habibia Siddiqui Brigade. I was a member. I played the bagpipe then. Being from a strong Indian background, I was quite surprised in later years to discover that my family wasn't actually opposed to what I was doing for the love of music. And that passion for music goes on from 1962 right up to today. As a matter of fact, I had a show this week in the morning, a senior citizen show, and we had over 300 people in the audience, and I did exactly what I did 40 years ago. Entertained the crowd, and they walked away absolutely thrilled.
Wow.
Then later on in years, I started recruiting bands. I started recruiting bands for various shows, being eat-and treats or weddings, or even big variety shows all over the Cape Peninsula. My favorite moments of showbiz came in later years in the early 70s when I did co-produce the Richard John Smith Show. It was the biggest blockbuster show of South Africa. Richard came from Athlone, Belgravia boy, and he excelled himself on record and stage performances. Unfortunately, we were not involved in television in those days that early. And when I got to Johannesburg to do the first concert at Johannesburg Theatre, the partners of the promotion company asked me, can you find us a beautiful Michael Jackson singer? And coming from the background of Athlone, which was the stronghold of talent, local talent, we permeated and we sound exactly like international singing stars. That we did it so well that sometimes you wouldn't even know who was the different singer, who was the stranger. So I came back to Cape Town and I found a little boy in Q Town by the name of Little Ronnie Joyce. Ronnie Joyce became South Africa's Michael Jackson then. It was a great success. 6 months down the line, they asked me, can you put another young boy on stage? I said, I'm going to try. I came back to Cape Town. At the age of 10 years old, I found this little boy in 7th Avenue, Belgravia. His name was Jonathan Butler. Jonathan Butler has become the biggest entertainer from South Africa, playing the best jazz music with some of the top promoters and the top entertainers and musicians in America and all over the world, as a matter of fact. Another young entertainer, which I also discovered in 1976, was at the Regent Bioscope in Belgravia. His name was Toya Abrams. Toya Abrams came to me at the age of 10 And he said he wanted to audition for me. And I said, well, it's the right day today. You're just in time to enter the competition. The end of the day, if you win the competition, then you walk away with a bicycle, a brand new bicycle. He goes on stage and he sings a beautiful song for me, one of Engelbert Humperdinck's songs. And believe it or not, Toya won the bicycle. And then I saw this little fat boy. He was a cute little fat boy. He was about 12, 13 years old then. And I saw him driving off into the dust of Bokmakiri, where he came from. And as a matter of fact, we are still attached to each other very, very close these days. I find that Toya inspires me like I've inspired him 46 years ago. We're still very good friends, and he's still a top-class entertainer. Over the years, we also sent Toya to Europe, where he performed very successfully. And because of different valuations in the music industry, you can't stay in one environment too long. You get you get displaced, or you get replaced by different artists. And there are so many on the Cape Flats. Then there was also a band competition in 1965. I'm jumping the years now, Mubashir, because I've got so much history behind me.
Look, I think you have so many years. Like, you are literally a walking encyclopedia. I think you have like so much history, like even before my time, even before my parents even thought about me.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm just looking at you now, and I'm just looking at you in awe, and I'm thinking, wow, wow, wow. Because I mean, you're taking me through time. And in respect to that, I can really appreciate what you're telling me, because you've been there, you've been through the time. It's wow, it's just amazing.
In show business, we talk about going on stage. We talk about it. We say we walk the planks. Okay, it's like we're on a pirate ship. You know, if you go down the plank, you're not to be seen again.
Yeah.
So we walk the planks in show business. We're hoping not to fall overboard. But the excitement and the challenges in show business in the 60s and 70s really hit me very, very hard. I was the youngest show promoter in South Africa, and I attempted to bring all types of entertainment to Athlone, and the Kismet Cinema was the stronghold for entertainment concerts, of which I was a leader. Then I brought international stars from Las Vegas to the Kismet stage. I brought Trini Lopez, the man who sang La Bamba, out of Las Vegas. I brought Helen Shapiro, was the pop queen in Britain in 1968. But on many, many occasions, my shows just fell through the floor for the sake of apartheid and group areas. I was challenged by the Bantu administration at all times in the Athlone area, where they patrolled, and Langa and Guguletu, where I used to pick up all my musicians and all my singers, that sometimes I would be locked up in isolation in Langa at the police station, or Guguletu, because I went in there after curfew. And they would let me go at 9 o'clock, spitefully let me go at 9 o'clock, but then the show is already in the hands of another Indian promoter who stood by for me. The challenges of me performing for a colored audience was okay. But the moment I brought in white entertainers or white international entertainers, I had to apply to the Department of Community Development for a permit to allow whites to perform for coloreds, or vice versa in certain towns. And that was the biggest downstream for me, because there was expenses involved, airfares, concert fees, rehearsals, whatever. And at the spur of the moment, the police would walk in there and say, "Who is the promoter?" And I would step forward and say, "Well, your permit tonight has been revoked."
Wow.
Then you have 1,300 people standing in the queue with tickets in their hand. Now you have to face that people, the audience, and say, "I'm sorry, the permit has just been revoked, the show is cancelled." Can you believe, Mubashir, the challenges I had to face after that, to still surface after 1966 with the Trini Lopez show, and to go ahead with doing another show?
I'm really sitting here and just wondering what really kept you motivated, because I mean, that can really be, a very, a daunting task. It's a challenge to be locked up every time, to be, revoked all the time, and to be withheld. I mean, how did you keep yourself motivated?
I'm not sure if it was passion or stupidity. I'm not sure about that.
I think they say passion is it's a bit of both.
A bit of both. Yeah, a bit of both. Yeah. Look, there was a strong passion, and I think my parents was a great influence with me. We had a shop in Athlone, a very small bobby shop in Athlone, and my father was also the night manager at the cinema, the Athlone cinema, and running a shop during the day. And we had a jukebox on the floor in the cafe. My mother used to make salomis, roti and curry in the kitchen at the back, selling it to the hawkers and selling it to the people coming off the streets. And they would sit around tables and they would play the jukebox. But then I would listen in on the jukebox, and I can tell you up till today, I can tell you exactly which date Jim Reeves recorded Are You Lonesome Tonight. I can tell you what label it was. I can tell you who composed it right up till today. To the edge of a clock. I can tell you that's the memories I had of the 60s. So I listened to all the music of the 50s and 60s coming around on a jukebox, and that would live with me. Up till today, some of my shows, I still present some of those songs. And I would relay a musical history, musical dictionary to my audience, telling them exactly the background of that song, who wrote it, why did they write it, where are they now, what happened to them, and who is earning the royalties. From a South African side, we musicians and entertainers, we are the rough side of a pineapple. We never got any royalties for anything we've done.
And we never even got to eat the pineapple at all.
Not even a pineapple, yes, you're right.
Ons praat van die skille hierso.
Yeah, so this is the challenges I had to face, but it never put me down, because I always believe life is like show business. We're always on a roller coaster. And the roller coaster goes down more than it goes up. If one can balance that out, then you can survive in show business. And the old adagio of show business is, no matter what you feel like, no matter how you feel, the show must go on. And I've lived with that memory, and I've lived with that passion. The show must go on. I've suffered 3 heart attacks on stage.
And you don't look it.
Thank you. And I've suffered in 2013, Friday the 13th September, I had a stroke on stage at the casino, Carnival City Casino in Johannesburg. Came back to Cape Town, spent the whole week at Grootskie Hospital, lying in intensive care. Came out of that, and alhamdulillah, I'm still going.
And
right?
I'm standing here and just staring, because I'm thinking, you don't look it. I was about to ask you, before you even mentioned the operation.
You're going to flatter me now.
No, I wanted to ask you, how do you keep yourself so youthful? And you're telling me that you've experienced these things. And I mean, I'm just, like I said, in awe of your experience.
I try to instill the kind of positivity I have. And if you can believe in a positivity that no matter what happened today, and tomorrow morning you're going to get up, the sun's going to shine, it's going to be a different problem. If you can face that, then you face adversity with a smile. So we go on. I would also like people to remember that all the promoters of the past, they were all Indian promoters of the Cape Flats and the northern suburbs. We were all Indian. So I am the last of the Mohicans.
Wow.
So that's what I say. I'm the last of the Indian Mohicans, and I'm still holding the candle, and I'm still walking, and I'm still standing, and I'm always and still ready and waiting for the next artist to bloom, so I can put them back on stage.
Do you envision somebody that you will be giving the candle over to, though?
Unfortunately, no. I've had a very, very bad habit. I could never delegate.
You always have to do it, you're on your own. You do it myself.
On my own. Even if you've done it 10 times, I have to walk up to that candle and find out if that candle is really burning or not.
Yeah.
That's me.
So you're like the sun that always outshines the candle.
That's right. So unfortunately, I wouldn't have anyone I can hand the baton to. There's lots of admirers. There's lots of people that promise. But once again, if I didn't do it, it's not right.
Meeting you today, I think, was the perfect opportunity for me to become more inspired, as I've also, gone down a road of disparity, and you feel like you just feel hopeless, and you just feel like, where do I go with this? Where do I go with my passion? My passion really means nothing if it can't be an investment for me. But you've really shown me a different road and a different way of looking forward.
Bashir and all the listeners out there, I've been the most challenged promoter in South Africa. Firstly, it was being young, and I was victimized for being young, trying to boss around authority in the high offices to get permits. At the age of 15, I was looking for permits for certain shows, being locked up in jails in Guguletu and in Langa in the townships for wanting to collect musicians and artists to perform on stage, trying to empower them. Who comes from a building site, has to shower, has to wash, and then whisk them off to a cinema to perform on stage. That was the challenges that I had. And then also the challenges of financial losses because of the system of the old apartheid regime. It was a difficult period in my lifetime. But some of the people that I have uncovered, so to speak, on the Cape Flats, in the townships, some of them have become fantastic international promoters, international singers and entertainers. There was Rebecca Malope, who became one of the biggest black singers in South Africa. There was Brenda Fassie, who was a very big pop idol amongst the certain parts of the communities of this country. But they were big stars. People like Tony Scholder, who passed out his jazz notes with me on the piano, became as big as Portuguese Sergio Mendes. There was Winston Mankunku, who was the carbon copy of so many American saxophoners. Those are people that lived under my wing for a while and then rose to dizzy heights. There's also the late professor of Johannesburg, Professor Ntuli, who still from time to time sent me accolades and saying, "You're the man I most admire." There's one of the Oki Bazaar's frontliners who promoted the Oki Bazaars in a white band all over South Africa. And 3 days ago, he sent me a message on Facebook and said, "You are the man I most respect." Although I've never met him, but I knew his background, knew his history. He says, "You are the man I most respect." Another man from Johannesburg who was the top singer on the white side in South Africa, one of the top record producers, said to me also a short while, I've got them all on Facebook, which I can prove in print. He says, "There never will be someone to replace you because no one ever had the voice that you came up with, singing music so high in a soprano voice." So on the one side, I was a good promoter. On the next side of the coin, I was a good singer. I'm also a stand-up comedian, but I prefer sitting anyway. So I did all phases of entertainment. In 1986, when I visited Las Vegas, I met up with the entertainer George Burns, the comedian with the big cigar. Oh man, George Burns. And he was already 86 years old. And he said, strange, I was in 86, he was also 86. I said to him, "Mr. Burns, I just saw your show now. I'm working the cigar room around the corner in this hotel. How do you manage to do what you do on stage like you just done now?" He says, "Drink a bottle of Jack Daniels every day." I said, "No, thank you, I don't do that." "Well, surround yourself with beautiful women." I never got that far. And I said, "But what keeps you going in music?" He says, "You've got to be positive. When you go on stage, you prepare yourself. You either go for the music or you go to bed or you die," he says. "And if you're going to die with your boots on." And that's what I've been doing for the last 60 years in show business, performing with my boots on.
Now look, there is a WhatsApp message that came in from Auntie Gigi. It says, "What a wonderful, truthful show. We remember those days." Yeah. Miriam Mikey, I too. She says, yeah, that's just a WhatsApp coming in from Auntie Gigi, saying she really appreciates you and what the works you've done, of course.
Well, we haven't stopped. I haven't stopped. Every Wednesday of every month, on the first Wednesday of the month, I produce a show for senior citizens at the Turf Hall Stadium. And we had one this past Wednesday. We had over 250 all seniors in the audience, and they thoroughly enjoyed. Even your receptionist here, Yasmin, she was also at the show, and they thoroughly enjoyed themselves. And my very, very good friend was also there. Sheikh Alexander was also in the audience, and he thoroughly enjoyed the show, and he couldn't stop laughing, and he couldn't stop clapping hands. So I do that. And the next opportunity for seniors to come in a very safe environment, a beautiful, lovely little hall, safe parking, is on the 11th of December. The show is called Yesterday Once More with the Golden Oldies. And the next show will be starring Mujahid George, Fakhri Isaacs, Shadley Skruder, myself, Sumaya Hendricks, and Kashifa Blau. And tickets are only 80 Rand for that show. And tickets can be bought on the following cell phone number. It's 074 633 8669. Naju is the lady in charge of ticket sales. Please book early, because after the turn away of many people this last Wednesday, we are going to be absolutely sold out by the end of this month. So please get your tickets very, very early for Yesterday Once More with the Golden Oldies at the Balthorn Hall at Turf Hall Stadium. I have a wonderful time at every time I walk on stage. I shake like a leaf. I'm very, very nervous. But once I walk on that stage, I practically have the crowd eating out of my hand. I have never, ever been booed from District 6, 1963, right up till today. Never been booed by anyone off the stage. Never been asked to leave the stage. And they would actually ask me to come back for more. I performed at the Catholic hall in Berkeley 2 weeks ago, myself, Leslie Kleinsmith, Gimpie Vardeen, and a couple of other entertainers, and I was only supposed to do 3 songs. And to my dismay, after my third song, the producer came to me and he says, the audience want another one. So I did. Comes back and said they want another one. So I ended up doing 6 songs, and at the age of almost 80, all 400 people in that hall gave me a standing ovation. Now, if that doesn't satisfy your passion, then I don't know what will.
Now, tell me about your passion. What does it mean to you? If someone like me comes along and says, "Look, I really appreciate you. I really think you are the man," or it's anything along that lines. What does it mean to you, and how does it impact you? How does it motivate you, or what does it do for you?
I feel embarrassed. Because I still believe I haven't reached that epistone of my career. I don't believe I've done that. I still believe I can learn a lot more, because whatever I've learned, I can pass on to the next one. But who is going to pass it on to me? But I still believe I'm very embarrassed when people come there. They stop me on an elevator and said, "Aren't you that man that did that show here, show there? You were fantastic." And I said, I feel so embarrassed you telling me this now, because I'm a very humble, very shy guy in real life, very shy guy. But once I'm on stage, there's 2 sides to a coin. At home, I play heads. On stage, I play tails. So I'm like a tale of 2 cities. I'm 2 different people in the same cloth.
And how do you manage that? How do you manage to have the 2 personas, or the 2 personas at one particular time?
I can't really answer that question for you, but I can tell you, I'm a handyman. I'm not a professional, but I'm a hobbyist in welding. I fabricate steel. I work with wood. I work with all sorts. I'm a sign writer. I do everything myself. And I've got to keep myself together. And I can be working in the garden all day or welding all day, and then tonight I have a show going. I believe in what George Burns says. No matter what happens, die with your boots on.
And the show must go on, of course.
The show must go on.
Now, what would you say has been the highlight of your career so far, and why does it stand out for you?
The highlight of my career was being recruited by the Mediterranean Sea Cruises, the MSC Cruise Lines, to work on some of their ships as an entertainer. And I went on the MSC Rhapsody. Later on, I went on to the MSC Melody. And up till about 2012, just before my stroke, I worked on the MSC Sinfonia, and I produced a performance on stage that they have never ever witnessed before. I did Elvis Presley impersonation. I did Frank Sinatra. I love jazz swing, and I did all that, and I have all the dance moves still. Up till Wednesday this week, I proved all my dance moves were still intact. And I entertained the audience. So the highlight of my career was being enrolled on a sea cruise ship at such a late age in my life, and that was with MSC. There were other highlight moments in my life as well, but there were just too many. So I don't want to pick them wrongly. If you had to give me about a week to work at the 100 best performances and the best high points,
it'll take you another 2 weeks.
It'll take me a long time again. Yeah. So that was a highlight for me, because before I could go on the ship, I had to do life saving. I had to do firefighting. I had to do all sorts of training, paramedics and all that I had to do. And at the age of, when was it, that 2013, it's about 10 years ago, I qualified. So if I need to go back on the ship again now, I have to try and be qualified again. I'm not sure if that's going to happen in a good time, but look, I had the best of it so far.
Look, it is Radio 786 100.4 FM, and we have Jayson Jay King, the entertainer of the entertainment industry. Definitely, if you are feeling uninspired, you need to really re-look at why you're feeling uninspired. But now, Jason, there is a message that came in on the WhatsApp line that says, Athlone back then, with the hustling and the bustling, and the talents that came from there, and the Athlone today that is a shadow of its former self. How does that make you feel?
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. When the Kismet Cinema was built in Athlone, I was one of the first promoters to do a live show. It was every Tuesday night there was a live show on stage. Every Sunday night there was a live show on stage. I wasn't the only promoter, but I was one of the most regular promoters of shows, unearthing new talent on the Cape Flats. It is a shame that Athlone has gone down the way it did, but then everything happens with time. Everything diminishes, plants rot, sand erodes. There's so many different elements of our life that we have to say goodbye to sometime. And with the economy in South Africa about 30, 40 years ago, proved that Athlone took a dive simply because of the economy of the country and with the apartheid regime that was controlling this country, South Africa. People were forcibly removed out of District 6, which was also a vibrant little city, I would say, District 6. And after it was bulldozed, people moved out of there to Manenberg, Bonteheuwel, Lavender Hill, Factorton. District 6 also died and has never woken up since then. Likewise with Athlone. Athlone is still fast asleep right now because of the economy of this country. There's no interest in building massive arenas, massive halls these days, because that was formerly built by very rich, I must say, very rich Indian people in the past who had a passion for movies, and that was the idea of making money on the entertainment side, not thinking of live shows, but in movies. And we as promoters, we took advantage of their stages and the curtains and big audiences. We went into the show business.
Now, I know music has the power to bring people together, right? How have you seen this play out through your career, especially during the times of social or political change?
I was the manager of the Regent Bioscope in Belgravia. In 1976, I got to the cinema early one morning, and that was the time when Belgravia High and Alexander Sinton were protesting out at the old Golden Dish on the corner of 2nd Avenue, Belgravia, and Klipfontein Road, just a few meters away from the Regent Bioscope. And the police came along with their Caspers, they came along with their baton charges, stun guns, rubber bullets and everything, and started opening fire with the students. And the students all ran towards me, and I said to them, go and duck into the cinema upstairs and down, and I locked the doors. The police came down on me with heavy blows of a baton. I ended up in hospital that very same day. So the old system also got me down with a baton charge, bandages in hospital. It was a terrible time for me. But I had to outlive that era of my life, and I had to think of going on. And this is what gives me the positive idea of saying, look, I'm not going to stop just here. I'm not going to give it up because of that. If my show failed tonight or if my health has failed, I'm giving up. No, that's not within me. I need to go on. And I hand the baton back to myself again.
Now, what's next for Jayson Jay King? Are there any upcoming projects or performances that we can look forward to?
I'm looking forward to celebrating my 80th birthday, and that's next year in May. And I am still appealing to corporates out there to sponsor my show in a very large venue so I can present a new project which is in my mind. It's called Jayson King and the Magnificent Seven. The Magnificent Seven will be drawn from some of the best entertainers in South Africa, more so in Cape Town, and present them under my wings as the Magnificent Seven. So that will give me a nice play out. Not saying I'm retiring, it will give me a nice play out, enjoying my 80th birthday with something that I've enjoyed most in my life. But I have a second enjoyment in my life as well. I have a family, and I have a wife. Naju is her name, Naju Munisa. And just this week, Tuesday, the 12th of November, we celebrated 57 years anniversary, unbroken service. So there's two passions in my life, a family and music.
Now, as we were speaking earlier, I was going to ask, through all of this that you've gone through in your life, through all these achievements and also the challenges, I do believe that you must have had some sorts of support, and like you're saying, Naju was there, and she's obviously still there for you, supporting you through all of these things. I think that a lot of us, we sometimes overlook that, but I think that you bringing that to the fore really makes her feel part of your investment and your life as well.
She bore the brunt of my challenges. Imagine her being my wife, okay? I'm lying in a hospital in Kimberley somewhere, and the doctors pick up the phone and said, is that Mrs. Abdurrahman? Well, that's my real surname, Abdurrahman, okay? She would say, yes. Well, you better rush to Kimberley. Your husband had a heart attack. A few months later, they would pick up the phone again. Is that Jayson King's wife? She said, yes. He's in Durban, Addington Hospital. He had a heart attack. They call from the ship. your husband had a heart attack. We're transporting him by helicopter now from Luderitz Bay or King Richard's Bay, and he's going to go to Entebbe Hospital in Durban. How does a wife who does ordinary housewife work, cook, launder and clean the house, and stand by for bad news like that, and having to jump in the next car, plane, whatever, to get to my side? So Najib Munisa, after 57 years, I would say to you, thank you very, very much. I love you so dearly. If I could live my life over again, I wouldn't change a thing.
Wow, I really am. It really does blow me away. And, just looking at you, I think you really are an inspiration for, look, if you're not an inspiration to anyone out there, you definitely are an inspiration for me, and you have definitely changed the way that I look forward and that I look at things currently. I appreciate you. I don't really know who you are, but I'm getting to know you. I've learned a little bit about you in this last couple of minutes, and I already feel inspired, and I've already become more of a believer thanks to you.
Now, you've humbled me again. I am not it, and I'm not that. I am not the best in the business. I still strive to entertain people, because if I knew and I thought I was the best, I would take the first cruise out of South Africa and live on a ship for the rest of my life. But I'm striving to get there.
Definitely, I think you can obviously achieve that, and obviously with Najmi Nisa by your side. But now, you've undoubtedly inspired countless artists over the years. Yes. Are there any young performers or entertainers today that remind you of yourself or your journey?
Well, there's one person which I referred to on stage Wednesday morning, was Shadley Scruder. Is a shadow of myself.
I actually know him.
Yeah, he's been here a couple of times. He's the shadow of myself when I was young, and I was vibrant and I was lively. I still have the life in me, but Shadley is a true entertainer in the shadows of myself, Jayson King. And I love working with him, and he's fantastic. But then we have wonderful singers like Fakhri Isaacs, who is at the epitome of his career, like right now as an entertainer. There's Mujahid George, there's Noor Abrams. There's a whole string of fantastic singers here in South Africa. Why they haven't made the tabloids overseas yet, why they haven't reached the recording studios European-wise or in the UK or in America, I can't tell you, I can't give you the answer. South Africa had great promoters 1971, 72, 73. They were record producers. I was amongst them. We promoted very good shows. We had, like I said earlier, Richard John Smith, Jonathan Butler, Ronnie Joyce, Ivan Ross, the Rockets, and so many people. Richard John Smith, yeah. That sort of power as a musician, as a marketing person, as a promoter, doesn't exist anymore. Today, it's all about the money. When an artist comes to you and you say, I'd like to use you on my show, the first thing he's going to ask you, how much am I getting paid? That's the first thing they ask you. Now, there's no label for any top artists in this country, although I mentioned a few names who are at the top of their bill right now, but there's no artist big enough in South Africa to compare with any international recording artist or stage performer. We are all still in the beginning stages as far as I'm concerned. We are big fish in a very small pond in South Africa. If we had to go out there, we would have to take on massive challenges. One of the promoters I was associated with in 1973 was a guy called Clive Calder. He said to me, Jayson, pack your bags, you're going to join us and we're going to the UK. I said, what are we going to do in the UK? He says, well, we've got Richard, we've got Ronnie Joyce, we've got Jonathan Butler. I want you to join me and show the world how to make music. I said, now what the hell can you teach the world how to make music? You're from Joburg. He says, I'm a promoter, I'm a producer, and I know what I want to do. Well, my mom was running a supermarket, my mom was running a takeaway, and I said, no, I want to stay with the family. Then they packed up and they went to London, and they found a woman called Ruby Turner and Billy Ocean. They became the biggest promoters and record producers of the century in 1975-76. Jonathan Butler left their company and became the multi-star that he is, a megastar that he is today. His name was Clive Calder. He's now retired in the Cayman Islands, a multi-billionaire. I was supposed to be at his side at all times. The other partner was Ralph Simon from Johannesburg. He was the inventor of the ringtone that we have on our phones. He was the inventor of the ringtone.
Wow.
So they are both lazing around in the sun in the Cayman Islands, hiding their money in all those international banks. And here I'm sitting in your studio, which I could have owned if I was still with them. And what the hell more can I say? It's not a regret in my life, but I could have still been part of the pudding. My recording engineer and my engineer on the shows was a guy called Matt Langer. He got married to Shania Twain, the Canadian songstress. Okay, so they all went into dizzy heights of show business, but the other side of this coin for them, they have no family life. And being the billionaires that they are today, they can't even go and buy an ice cream at the corner shop because they will be flogged and thronged by many hundreds of people that will identify them.
Look, there is another WhatsApp that came in and it says, come on, do us another interview, please. Another one's continuing to say, come sing a song for us at the IIT, please. And then it also says, Richard John Smith, that's why I love you. Yeah, that's probably the song that they would like you to sing. But look, before you leave us, Jayson, is there any last message that you could give to us and give to our communities, and for those who are, inspired or will be inspired by you and are aspiring to become artists?
Okay, what I'm going to say now it's not a challenging thing I'm going to say. I'm not going to ask her. I'm going to say, trying to put the words in my head right now. I'm not sure how long I'm still going to be around. Life doesn't belong to us. Tomorrow is promised to no one. But while I can still walk the planks, and that means while I can still walk the stage, if I do put myself out there in a production, in a performance, try and come and support me. Come and see what I am, what I've done for other people, and what I intend to do with myself and the current people that's still on stage with me. That will give me the biggest inspiration to carry on with what I'm doing. Although I'm not stopping, but it'll give me a big inspiration. I could never stop. I could never ever stop. So what I'm saying is, I'm putting myself out there. When you see I'm doing anything somewhere, our biggest feed in life, our breakfast, our lunch, and our supper, is listening to the audience applauding. And if you see them standing, that is the cherry on top. So a singer, entertainer, comedian would love to see that. None of them shouldn't be embarrassed to say that they don't like it. Everybody likes it. We love it for an audience to stand up and clap their hands and howl out for more, more, more. That is what show business is all about. So what I would like to pass on to the next generation and the next generation is be positive and meet with the right people, humble yourself at times, and don't jump the ladder too fast, because you could fall off the first rung that comes on the ladder.
Wow. Jayson Jay King, we must say shukran to you and thank you so much for coming and sharing your beautiful story with us. And I hope a lot of people has resonated with it and could definitely, be inspired by what you have said. But until next time, thank you and shukran for joining us.
Can I say something before I go?
100%.
I've done interviews all over South Africa. On television, I've had many television programs that I was on. And I've done many radio stations and listened to many announcers, presenters. And you have one of the finest voices that comes across so beautifully and so smooth and so eloquently.
Thank you so much. I'm also now going to feel like you, embarrassed. But until we meet each other again, shukran so much. I really think and feel that I've really achieved so much just by sitting in your company. But yeah, until next time, shukran so much for joining us and inspiring us. And if you do see any event that is from Jayson himself, do please go out and do go and support him. I think he's come with a rich amount of history of this country that you could definitely benefit from.